Hello everybody. This video is for the next stage of your research paper after you've completed the drafting a central idea document. Please do not start this assignment, devising using research questions, until I have seen and reviewed with you your drafting a central idea document. Alrighty, and so you can begin this after that has been reviewed. Now, this assignment is called Devising and Using Research Questions. The goal of this assignment is to really kind of help you construct your paragraphs, especially your body paragraphs for what will be your research paper essay. Now, your body paragraphs are you'll have three of them at least, and each of them will focus on one of the three key moments that you develop in your drafting a central idea document. Now, for each of your key moments, you're going to need to answer who, what, where, when, why, and how questions about that, so that it shows that you have mastered your topic, that you have become, a middle school expert on whatever research topic you chose. And to prove that you kind of become an expert, you'll tell me who is involved, where it occurred, when it occurred, what actually occurred, why it happened, and how it unfolded, or how it happened, right? You can answer all those questions, you become, a middle school expert on your topic. And so that's the goal of this assignment, is to not only ask those questions so you can kind of frame in your mind, okay, what am I really looking for here? But then you'll answer those questions as well. And I'll show you in a moment kind of what I mean by that. So to establish the due date, you should be starting this assignment somewhere around Wednesday, February 24th, or Thursday, February 25th. That is the absolute latest that you should be starting. This is February 25th, Thursday. And then you'll have February 25th in class. February 26th is a half day. We will work on it then as well. And then March 2nd and 3rd, and it'll be due on March 3rd. Okay, so one thing I want to start off with is the format of your essay. So eventually, at somewhere around March 12th, you will finish up your essay, and it'll be structured like this: 5 paragraphs. In the first paragraph, you'll introduce your first topic and anything necessary that came before your first key moment. And then the middle paragraphs, that's what we're focusing on here. That's you telling me your 3 key moments: the who, what, where, when, why, and how. The 5th paragraph, that's your conclusion. You'll summarize your historical event, mention anything worthwhile that you haven't already, and discuss how the world or people have changed since your event occurred. Okay, your learning expectations for this week. This week you will devise research questions for our research topics. So we can become experts on our topic by knowing the who, what, when, where, why, and hows of our research topics. We'll know that we have become an expert, and we are able to devise a research question for each key moment and answer it succinctly, which means briefly, and with evidence from a primary source. If you have any questions at all about this assignment, please send me an email, make a private comment on your document, or you can comment on this assignment. Of course, you can always ask me in class or on our Google Meets if you are online. Alrighty, so there are 2 documents attached here. One is Tom's example, and then when you're doing this in the top right, you can't see it now, but you will have your copy. They're a little bit different because my example, the document with my example, that's going to actually give you a model, which is something that you should look at. What I would recommend as you are working on this assignment is having my document open in a separate tab for you kind of just go back and look at, so that you kind of know that you're on the right track. And of course, you can always just ask me if you're on the right track, but it's always good to just kind of have a really good example in your back pocket that you can refer back to if you are unsure or unclear as to what I am looking for from you out of this assignment. So let's take a look at my example first. And you can't quite see it, let's see my example right there. All right, so first of all, what's a research question? Research questions help writers focus their investigation of a topic for an informational text. Research question is an overarching question that steers the research in the writing of an essay. So when you think of a research question, it's helping you kind of frame, all right, what am I saying here? Like, you're not just retelling what happened in your key moment, right? And the question, if you ask yourself, okay, what is guiding me here? You can be more focused when you're writing. So, research questions are not easily answered. There's no simple answers, which means you have to do a little bit of research. They're analytical in nature. Research questions ask why something happened. How did it unfold? How did it occur? They're open-ended, which means that they can't sometimes just be answered with simple questions and answers. They require research and thinking to craft an adequate response, and it should be directly related to each of your key moments. Now, I know you still might be some confusion, but once you see some examples from me, I think it'll be a little more clear. Okay, and then you also will ask and answer information questions. The information questions are a little more basic. They are where, when, who, what, why/how. All right, and I've already told you how your essay is going to be formatted, so just kind of keep that in mind. Now, listen, some of you have chosen more than 3 key moments. Some of you have chosen 4, maybe even 5, because you just think that there's more that you really want to say. If that is the case, you're going to have more body paragraphs. Everyone will have the intro, which is the first paragraph, and the conclusion, which is the 5th. Now, if you choose 5 key moments, you're going to end up having 7 paragraphs. They don't need to be as long because you're doing a bit more and you're covering more events and topics, but you'll still need that intro and conclusion. Everyone will need that. Alrighty. So I chose for my example a pretty famous event in the Upper Peninsula, and that is the sinking of the Edmund Fitzgerald, which I think most of you likely know the story by now, but if you don't remember, it's basically just a cargo ship that was in Lake Superior many decades ago and crashed, and many people aboard did perish. So, I came up with 3 research questions. Each of these questions is related to 3 key moments that I chose on my previous document, right? So, you'll need to go back and look at your 3 key moments and think, all right, what is the most important question that I answer? So, my 3 research questions. All right, so if I was to say that I have 3 key moments for the sinking of Edmund Fitzgerald, number 1 would be the ship dealing with really difficult weather and then eventually sinking. My second key moment would be the crew's reaction and the people aboard the ship and what they do to try to save themselves and save other crew members. And my third one would actually be how the shipping industry and the boating industry in the Great Lakes changed after the ship sinking. So I really didn't just focus on the sinking of the ship, but the consequences of the sinking of the ship on the UP, the Great Lakes, and really just the greater shipping and boating industry. Because a lot of safety enhancements were made after the sinking of the Edmund Fitzgerald. Okay, so those are my 3 key moments. Now I want you to keep this in mind, that every time you see this letter A, all the A's for where, when, who, etc., what, why, how, they're all going to be related to that A. All the B's will be related to the second key moment. So, okay, just focus on one. I'm not going to go over them all right now, but all right, I've got one. So, the ship sinking, that's my key moment. So what's the major research question I want to ask? What is so important that I need to cover this? Why is this key moment more important than many other things that happened? Well, of course, it's because the ship sinks. Now, I didn't write a lot here, but I would probably, in order to answer why did the ship sink, what caused it, I'm going to go back and I'm going to do a lot of research and tell a reader the ship sank because of X, Y, Z. The things that caused it were the weather, a lack of safety enhancements, and a few other reasons. So my answer in reality is going to be a heck of a lot longer than this. But okay, just keep in mind, key moment here, ship sinks, my research question, why? Alright, so let's go to A, the where question. Where did the ship sink? So I want to be as specific as possible. Lake Superior, just west of Sault Ste. Marie. Okay, when did it sink? So again, tied into the ship sinking, the first research topic. Ask when did it sink. Now who? You're not always going to have a question to ask. If the ship sinks, I could ask maybe who's the captain, but I know I'm going to cover that in B because it's about the people on the ship. But you're not always going to have like a who question. Maybe you might not always have a when question. So if you really can't think of one, I would say number one, ask me for help. Say, hey, Mr. Thomas, can't really think of one. Let's see if we can brainstorm together. And then if you already can't figure anything out, NA, not applicable. You should not have a ton of these NAs. Notice I've got 3 out of 15. I think that's plenty. That's more than enough. You probably shouldn't have more than 3 or 4 NAs. Alright, so again, key moment, ship sinks. So, what caused the ship to sink? Rough winds and poor shipsmanship, right? And then why did the ship sink? Too good, poor job making decisions. Now, I just want to be very clear that I am looking for deeper responses than just what I responded here. I am not writing the research paper, so I didn't do a ton of research to make this example, but your research should answer this in a full sentence and stronger than mine. This is just kind of an example to help you understand and frame what I'm looking for here. Okay, so your version looks like this. Some instructions and stuff at the top. Please read those before you start. You'll tell me, what are your 3 key moments? So, you'll tell me your key moment 1 from Drafting Conceptual Idea, key moment 2, key moment 3, and then tell me, what are your major 3 research questions that you really want to answer? Okay? What are your 3 research questions that you really want to answer? Your where questions related to each. I'm going to change this to ABC before you see it. There'll be where questions, when questions, who questions. And of course, you'll write out your question here, and then you'll answer it right here. This requires a lot of research. This is why you have 4 days in class to do this. Is please write out the question here. I left this blank so you could write your question. A lot of students forget to write the question and they just start answering something. No, you're writing out what question is worth answering. Okay? And then there are 3 more questions at the bottom. One of them is quite easy. First one says, what important information should you include that comes before your first key moment? Provide as much context as possible, and this should be completely in your own words, and anything you quote or paraphrase should be in your own words. Okay, so if your first key moment, right, let's say you're doing 9/11, your first key moment is the Twin Towers being struck. There's a lot that came before that. You might mention pilots being trained, and the previous wars in Afghanistan, and why terrorists were looking to target the United States in the first place. There's a whole lot to unpack there. And so I want you to do your research to figure out, all right, what should I have mentioned that I didn't mention before my key moments? And then this one is, what came after your key moment? So again, let's go back to the 9/11 example. Let's say your last key moment was the Pentagon gets hit. Okay? I don't want you to just end on that, though. You're going to tell me in your final paragraph, your conclusion paragraph, what came after this event. And listen, what came after that is we searched for bin Laden for 9 years. We fought a war in Iraq for over 10 years. We're still fighting a war in Afghanistan after 20 years. There's a lot that came after that, and it's important that you recognize that your event is not isolated in history. It's not like it started here, it ended here, and nothing else is impacted or affected by that. No, like every historical moment or historical person has something that came before them, and they have hopefully left some type of legacy that's come after them, whether they're good or bad. They all likely have a legacy. So how has their legacy impacted the culture, impacted people, impacted society? That's what I'm looking for here. And so what I really want out of this is a 3 to 10 sentence response of what came before your first key moment, right? Your first key moment right up here. And what came after your last key moment that is worth mentioning. And then please keep track of your sources as you read. You can definitely go back to your previous documents and copy and paste the sources if you could keep track of them already. That's fine with me. Alright, so I know this is a long video, but this is a long assignment. I want to make sure that you heard my example, heard the basics. Please use my example as a reference, as a guide, so that you know what I'm looking for. I wish you good luck. Please reach out if you need any help, and take care.